Hey, hi everybody, my name is Flask and I'm a volunteer with the Girl Scouts of the Green and White Mountains. Today we're going to play with fire. Your grown-ups can tell you when and where it is safe to use fire-making tools. It's important for you to know that I've taken safety precautions. I'm using a metal pie plate to hold the fire. I have a metal cover to snuff the fire out. And in case things need it, I have water handy. So today, I'm going to use a hand lens to use the sun's energy to light a fire. The basic principle with a lens is you want to get a nice round shape with a circular lens. You want the shape of the light to be as closely matching the lens as possible. And then you just make it go up or down to change the focal length, which is the distance at which it focuses. So you want to make that bright point very, very tiny. I'm going to put a piece of wood in here and I'm going to get that nice round shape. And then as I bring it into focus, you can see it doesn't take very long for the heat of the sun to start that smoking. But that is usually not enough to get it to burst into flame. And so to do that, we need some tinder. So I've made a little bundle of dried grasses. I'm taking a little bit of charcoal from an older ignition. I'm just wrapping it right on in there, because I want it to be tight enough to keep the heat in, but loose enough to still get oxygen. Did it go out? And there's my fire. And there's my fire. I'm going to let that burn down a couple seconds so that I get some charcoal to use in my next ignition. Alright, as long as we're here, let's compare some of the ignition properties of the different lenses. So if we're going to start with the round lens, getting it nice and round and then bringing it in to a focal point. And it takes very little time to get that to smoke. And it has a nice wide spot. Now I'm going to try the Fresnel lens. its rectangular hotspot. Bring that in, and that smokes very quickly. And I think it's hotter than the other because it looks like it wants to bust that whole cardboard into flame. Like it's still smoldering. Okay, that's crazy hot. So let's look at another little hand lens. And I carry this one for identifying flowers and looking at small things. And if I hold it up toward the sun so I get a good circle, I bring it in real close, I can get it to focus. Get a tiny little pinpoint. But I don't see a burn spot yet. Oh, look, there's a tiny little burn spot. So I guess you could use this if you had to. But just for giggles, let's see what we can get with my glasses. And there doesn't appear to be any place where I can get that lens to focus sharply enough to get a hot spot. So that's no fun. And let's look at, I have another object. This is a fermentation weight, so it's a nice round piece of glass. It's nice and clear, but it has no curve in it. It's flat. So even though I get sunlight through, it doesn't change how strong it is when I move it up and down. And that curve is important. So nothing from the fermentation weight. But I heard about this one. People say this one will work. This is water in a plastic bag. And I guess the trick is to make the water part nice and round. And be able to get a hot spot from it. Working on it. So I'm going to have to say no on that method. I mean, maybe if you had a properly shaped bag and a hot enough sun, but it's about noon, so the sun isn't going to get any stronger here. And I think I could probably get a friction fire going quicker than that, so that's not a super good method. But that is. Alright, so I'm back and I'm going to make another tinder bundle. I brought some things that I just went and collected. You want to get out the green stuff. You don't want to use anything that was laying on the ground because that'll be damp. But I have some dried grass. And I think I'm going to mix in with that some of the charcoal from my last burn. Get that all mixed in. And then I'm going to wrap it in some grass leaves. Leaves and stems. I'm going to put in some charcoal sticks. Wrap that up. I'm going to include some grass, stem and seeds. I got some twigs from a nearby spruce tree. And here's a good rule, is if it smells nice and piney, and it is dry, that is going to burn because all of the conifers contain flammable resins. I'll put some more of the grass stems. I like these grass stems to go around it because they give me something to hold it together with. If I put them around, kind of makes a little cage for my torch. There's a charred end. I'm going to use that. Put a spruce twig over that. So I've just built a little rat's nest of flammable goodness. I'm gonna get my lighting area clear. Take all the flammable things out from underneath me. All right. Now I have a different kind of lens. It's called a Fresnel lens. It's square and it's got ridges on it. And those should help focus the sun on my bundle. So I'm just gonna point it up there into the sun and get a nice rectangular image. And then I'm gonna pull it in close till I get some nice heat. At this point, I have a little ember in there, and all the lens is doing is helping keep it nice and hot in there. And there's my little fire. Gee golly, that's hot. I use the pieces of it to bring the burning parts into the pan. Those burning parts in. Cover it and hold it down. And I'm going to take away its oxygen. So now it's out. So that was 2 lens ignitions. And if there's any good charcoal in here, I'll save that and I'll use it to start my next fire. You can carry charcoal with you in a little tin or something, and that's a handy thing to have in case you need to start a fire. So that's it for me. I hope you've had fun, I hope you've learned something, and I hope you get a chance to use fire tools to make fire.